On January 11th, there's a new moon in Capricorn making an exact square to the North Node and South Node. The nodes represent your life path, and this is a crossroads. What does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the new moon. It's on January 11th. It's at 20 degrees of Capricorn. We're going to do a short overview, and then we're going to go sign by sign. So it's the new year, and we are just about halfway between Yule, which is the winter solstice, and when the dragon awakens. That's going to be the wood dragon. That'll be on February 10. And so this is really a time of new beginnings and where we want to set our intentions for going forward. So the North Node and South Node is this continuous line of energy in your chart. And different branches of astrology interpret it differently. We are doing Western astrology here, and so we focus on using the South Node to let go of the past and the North Node to move towards the future. So the new moon is sitting at the exact halfway point between the North Node and the South Node. So picture yourself at a T intersection, and so you can turn right or left. You cannot go straight, and so you have to make a choice. And so in one direction is the South Node, and the South Node represents things that are familiar to you, places you've gone before, people you already know. Also, though, the habits that you've had before, the good ones and the bad ones, all the things from your past. And then the North Node represents something new and doing new things and meeting new people and creating something new. And we are on this journey to take the things that we want to keep from the past and move forward. And so right now, we're all at a crossroads. Of course, the South Node being familiar feels comfortable, and the North Node being new feels a little bit scary. But the North Node represents the things that our soul wants to do. These are the things that we are striving for. And so the problem with the South Node is, and living in the South Node, is that it's boring. And so as you are faced with your choices, leaning towards something new is the way to go. So one of the ways that you can look at this is to ask yourself, of all the things that you did today, how many of those, or what percentage of those, were exactly the same as yesterday? Was there anything new that you did? Any new places you went, new people that you met, any new thoughts that you had? So the interesting thing about this particular North Node, South Node is that the South Node is in Libra. So that is basically where the people are, the crowds, the familiar faces, whereas the North Node, Aries, is you yourself choosing the direction you want to go. And maybe your friends come with you, maybe your family comes with you, but the thought is that you're going to be the leader. You're going to lead yourself and then maybe others on this unfamiliar path. And then this is a Capricorn new moon, and so Capricorn wants to build something, and there are multiple ways of building something. I mean, you might bring in a construction crew and, get funding and bring in heavy equipment and put up a building very, very quickly. Or you may gather clay and straw and form bricks and let them dry out in the sun for a week, and then put each individual brick on the building as you slowly build it up. Both methods are fine, or anything in between, because Capricorn wants you to build something. So then thinking about what you might want to build, because there's the very literal buildings out there, but there's so many more things that you could build. You could build your bank accounts, you could build your skill set, you could build your network of people. You might want to build a legacy. You might want to build stronger family connections. You might want to build your muscles. So again, Capricorn just wants you to build something. And this is the new moon, so this is a beginning. Now, additionally, we have a trine to Uranus. So again, this says try something new, try something different, explore new possibilities, and maybe even incorporate a little bit of technology or ideas from others that you are going to change a little bit or make your own as you move forward. But it all comes down to, what are you trying to build? And now looking at something new to do to get that thing built. Okay, in this video, we are doing tropical Western astrology. It's a good idea to listen to your rising sign. That's going to give you the most accurate information about what's coming up. If you don't know your rising sign, I can send you a PDF of your chart. There's a link in the description. I also do readings, so if you're interested in hearing about more detail of what's coming up for you in 2024, there's a link in the description. I know a lot of you leave comments about houses and the information about houses. On my website, there's a free PDF that talks about the houses, gives you keywords, and helps you figure out when you have planets in a house, what energy is being activated. And then also my course, Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart, is now available. And it is really a bargain, and so I hope you grab it. There's more than 50 videos, there's 24 PDFs, and the link is in the description. All right, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, you're doing this new moon right at the top of your chart, and so that indicates that something new could happen with your career, or your business, or your social standing in the world. And it makes it so that when you're planting seeds for something new, and it doesn't mean that something's going to immediately happen. These are seeds that you're planting, but that then there can be this wonderful harvest. And so this is about looking at what you're doing now and looking at what you want to do, but also what's the trajectory of the career you're in? How is it going to change? Because most jobs are going to change a lot over the next couple of years. And so planting a seed could be setting an intention or investigating something. I mean, the most amazing part about living in this world these days is how much access we have to information, helpful information, tutorials. And one of the things that can help us in career is gathering skills. And so there's all of these extremely generous people out there on YouTube who have done courses and tutorials that can teach you all of these different skills, anything that you want to learn. Now, this is making the square to the North Node, which is in your own sign of Aries, and then the South Node in Libra. And so the South Node sitting in that house of other people, that's the direction other people go. That's the way of the past. That's the way, maybe the easy way, just do what everybody else says. But this is a square to the North Node in your own sign of Aries. And so this would be, considering what you really want to do. That's part of the reason that we're all here, is to discover ourselves. And so think about the things that you've wanted to do. Maybe you've struggled with these things in the past, but it's a new year, it's a new time. And so this could be the time to plant those seeds. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's not making an aspect with Mars. However, everything's elevated in your chart. Okay, except for Jupiter and Uranus, but lots is elevated in your chart, and that makes you very easy to find. So if you're looking for love, go to places where there are a lot of people, go to the center of the room and just sit, or just meet lots of people and let love find you. So that's the best thing to do when you're highly visible. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mars is not making an aspect with Venus. And so everything's just going along as it's been going. And because the focus is more on your own direction, it's, just let your relationship be. It's hard to get that to shift directions or anything while you're not doing an aspect. So for the next 2 weeks, just focus on the things that you need to do. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Venus, which is in the house of ideas. It is near the top of your chart, and so, let your imagination go. Allow yourself to think of possibilities. Think of things that would be an adventure, that would be exciting to learn, that you have some interest in, and that interest could grow as you get better at it. So think about all the different things. And if you can't think of ideas, well, there's ChatGPT, and so it can generate ideas for you. Now, when it comes to income from business or investments, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. A semi-square is a rather irritating aspect, and it's not as effective as a square, and it doesn't bring some of the opportunities of the sextile. It's just kind of like like not a great version of those aspects together. And so what this is it's necessary for you to do some things that are kind of chores, not so fun. Those are the things that bring money. Maybe that is reading through a prospectus, or, the fine print of something. Maybe it's doing the back office of the business, or it is, handling the difficult customers, or figuring out how you can have less difficult customers, by, shoring up return policies or shipping policies or things like that. So it is when you do the stuff you don't really want to do, that's where the profits are. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is making an inconjunct to Uranus. So you're doing an aspect, and we always need an aspect if money's going to happen, because that's what takes the money from out in the world and puts it in your pocket. But an inconjunct does say that an adjustment is needed. Either you have to adjust, or the person you're dealing with has to adjust. So in this scenario, if you're asking for a raise, then you are causing your supervisor to have to adjust what they're doing, when they wanted to give you a raise, or you're adjusting your expectations in that raise. And so not the easiest of aspects. If you're already in negotiations for a new raise, then go in and negotiate hard. Cause the other person to adjust. But if you want to wait, this energy will line up better in the future, and you'll have an easier time. Okay, Taurus, you're doing this new moon in your house of education, travel, teaching, publishing. It's also about philosophy, your personal philosophy, and, comparative religions and big ideas like that, and legal matters. So anything from, being in a lawsuit to becoming a lawyer. So this new moon says to start something new. And so you might be learning a new subject, or thinking about going back to school, or maybe doing some sort of vocational training. This may be that you're moving towards teaching something. So perhaps you are doing, making video courses, writing books, writing tutorials and things like that. So if you're studying to be a lawyer, maybe this is where you're saying, okay, I'm really committing to what I'm doing, or you're just beginning to do this study. Or maybe you're preparing to take a test. If you are traveling, it could be that you are saying, all right, I'm going to make travel a priority for 2024. And so you're planting the seeds for that, maybe setting aside some time to research the destination, or setting up an account so that money can go in just for travel. Now you're doing this square to the north node, south node, like we all are. And so the south node is sitting in the house of daily routines. And so the backpedal place, the place where you're going, where you're not making progress, would be, okay, I want to do these big things, but let me get bogged down in the details. You say you want to publish a book, but then you get all like, oh, how do I get an ISBN? And, how long do I do the copyright for? I don't even think that's an option that you have. But, getting bogged down in the details versus North Node, which is sitting in your house of more what is in your control and what is out of your control, and allowing the universe to handle the stuff that's out of your control. This is also that point of being in touch with the universal consciousness. And so that is, a lot of people come to me and they ask what their purpose is, what's their calling. And it's not necessarily something to discover as to choose. And when you choose it, if you've chosen incorrectly, the universe will help you then course correct and shift you towards, where you're heading. But if you choose something, you're going to be close. Even if you I mean, you may hit the target right on the first try, but you may be close, and then the universe will gently nudge you in the right direction. But waiting to discover it is a long wait. And so right now you're doing that square to, let's pick something. Pick something that you say, I'm going to make this my calling, and then collect information about it and plant those seeds and see what happens. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury, although most of the planets are elevated in this chart, and so that does mean that you're easy to find. But right now, you're not really making a connection. And it's really, really interesting. I should have talked about this in the opening, but not anybody is doing a lot of aspects. There are very few really good aspects during this period, because I think our focus is supposed to be on this square of planting some seeds, choosing a direction. And so when it comes to love, it's more like go meet people and let love find you. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. Now, an aspect means that a conversation can happen. That's good, but a semi-square is a little bit rough when it comes to conversations, a little bit more irritation than you normally like. And so there could be some ruffled feathers on one side or the other, or something is irritating you. And so you have an opportunity to talk this out. And so, which you can, it's going to be probably better to talk it out than not, since you have this new moon is in one of the communication houses. So I think that could be helpful, but it may not be the easiest time. But at the end of it, when you do talk it out, then a solution can happen. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is sitting in your house of investments, credit, debt, your own business, etc. And Mercury is at 27 degrees of Sagittarius, extremely close to the galactic center, which is the source of all information. And so the new moon for you is in your house of information. Mercury is at the galactic center. Everything seems to say do the research and you're going to find the answer. And so that is that maybe you're discovering new investments to do or new ways of making money. I mean, these days there's a million ways to make money. And so this is saying here's your keys to the library to find that information. Now, when it comes to money from investments or from business, even though Mercury is not making an aspect to Jupiter, Mercury is in that house. And so I do feel that you could get some benefits, some little profits. It won't necessarily be as strong as it will be later in the year, but there is like the beginnings of something happening. And so, and that can give you the breadcrumbs to follow to the bigger treasure. So breadcrumbs and treasure. I don't know if that's a mixed metaphor or not. So I do see some positive stuff here, but it's not like fanfare, etc. It's small wins. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, it's an entirely different story because Mercury's making a square to Neptune. So there is definite action happening. This is a good opportunity to knock on your supervisor's door, set up the meeting, and have the discussion about when you could see a raise or other benefits. It's quite possible that you could receive other benefits in lieu of a raise because Mercury is in the house of benefits. And so that might be, more 401k money or more time off or discounts on insurance, things that could translate into money in your pocket. Okay, Gemini, you're doing this new moon in your house of resources from others. This is also about power and control, as well as the truth and really close connections with other people. And so, of course, being in your house of resources from others means that you could plant some seeds to gain resources in the future. And that could be material help, somebody who's going to work side by side with you or hand you a check or open a door for you, through helping you get, certified or being official or get a contract or something like that. The connections that you can make can get closer, and so that you know someone better, that you know them well enough that you could pool resources together to do an investment. So this allows you to plant seeds for that as well. But it also is about the seeds of the truth, and that would start first maybe with what's the truth about your financial situation. Are you using reasonable expectations for what you're expecting to get from your work? And so that is, if you just started a job, you don't really expect a raise in the first couple of months, but over the course of a year, then you would expect it. So like having those reasonable expectations and maybe just pushing it a little bit, maybe a raise could happen in 9 months. Now, this is getting this square to the south node in your house of I'm going to do it myself. This is, or I'm going to do it through play. And so that might be the old way of doing it. That it's your way or the highway, or if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it, or I did a little bit and now it should work. Versus the square to the north node, which is in the house of community and organizations, and it's a group effort, and it's in the future. That the 11th house is about the future, and that is that you're thinking, all right, I'm getting little results now, but in 5 years this could be a lot. In 10 years this could be huge. And so thinking about it that way, this is also about leveraging technology to help you, because 11th house is about all of the different innovations that are happening, and so getting up to speed in some of those skills and knowledge that can help at this time too. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mercury is not making an aspect to Venus, they're both in a relationship house, and so the energy is there. It's maybe you're so focused on other things you're not noticing that a person is asking you out, or not noticing that you'd like to ask that person out because you're so, focused on other things. It's also possible that you are going to the same places, meeting the same people, and you need to branch out a little bit. So maybe ask some of your friends, where else can I go? Or have them introduce you to new people. So I do feel there's some energy here for this. It's not as connected as it will be in the future, but there's still some good energy. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and Jupiter's hidden right now. And so it's possible that the two of you are just, going along doing, you do your thing, they do their thing, or for some reason you're not spending a lot of time together. Maybe one of you is traveling or off seeing relatives or very busy while you're traveling, vice versa. So there's not an aspect going on, which makes it's not as easy to work things out. But it also means that maybe there's not something to work out this time. And so, things could just be going along as usual. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that new moon, which is doing that crossroads with the nodes. So that means that you do have financial opportunities and a choice has to be made. And it's interesting because the choice that is, exciting and fun and, a little risky, that's not the one to take. So it's going to be the one that is more like the crowd favorite. It is more the one that in the long term looks better. It's going to be thinking of from a broader scale. Maybe how can this business scale? How can it grow? What would I do in 10 years? How could I sell the business? So thinking of your money in those terms, it is lighting up your house of investments. So looking at those, looking at your accounts and seeing where you're at, what kind of fees you're being charged, what kind of, expenses you have for insurance and things like that. All of those money things are important right now. Now, when it comes to money derived from career or investments, the moon's making a semi-square to Saturn, and the moon is in that house. So there is definite profits that you can make. There's some unpleasant, even unpleasant is a little too harsh. there's some slightly irritating things you have to do to get that money. It's just an extra few steps. It's, maybe you have to wait on hold to get the check sent to you, or the check was sent to you, but it was sent to your old address and you have to track it down, or you may have to change credit card processors, or, website hosts or something like that. There's some steps you have to take, and then you get the profits. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, even though the moon's not making an aspect with Mars, they are in the same sign. And so there is some compatibility here. But I'm thinking that you're more likely to get a perk rather than actual cash. So if you are negotiating for a raise and you're getting a lot of pushback, maybe ask for a more flexible schedule, or some extra time off during the year, or a better office, or a new office chair. You can get a perk more easily right now than you can get cash. Okay, Cancer, you're doing this new moon lighting up your house of relationships, and that's relationships of all kinds. That's not just love relationships, but that's friendships, true, close friendships, as well as business partnerships, collaborations, mentorships, someone to guide you or open doors for you. So this is where to plant the seeds. That is, go meet lots of people, and all kinds of opportunities will open up for you throughout the year. Now, this is also getting the square to the North Node and the South Node. So the South Node is sitting in your house of home and family. And so that is, if you just stay in your small circle, you're not really meeting anyone new. And that's a little bit of the inclination of Cancer energy, of, because it's about home and family. It is not necessarily venturing out and meeting a bunch of strangers. But the square to the North Node, the direction you want to go, is in this area of being seen, of social standing, of reputation. So this is about getting out of the house and meeting lots of new people. And that could be by pushing yourself outward through social media, or going to groups and organizations, just going to events, going to conferences, etc., and meeting new people. And that's what, then one connection leads to another, and doors open, and you get what you want. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though the moon's not making an aspect to Pluto, they're both in the same sign. They're in a relationship house. The energy is good. It may just feel like you're not sure if the person in front of you is the one, but they seem sure, or it is that you're sure and they're not so sure. And so you just have to be a little patient and let that energy work itself out, or more accurately, let these two energies come together so you can really explore who you are in the relationship and who they are, etc. So there's good energy here for meeting someone new for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a semi-square to Saturn. So this is a time where the two of you may come together to work out a problem. And it's an irritating problem at that. It is something that maybe you thought was solved already and it's tripping you up again. Or perhaps it's just one of those things that comes in externally from the relationship, but the two of you handle it differently. And the way you handle it is kind of incompatible with each other. Like one of you says, oh, well, and the other one screams at it. Or one of you says, well, let's throw some money at it and see if it goes away. And the other one says, let's ignore it. So you want to get on the same page on how you're handling the problem. And that's going to take some communication. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, sitting in that house of connections to others. And so that is very much about meeting new people and making connections. This is also the house about balance, equilibrium. And so that is about, finding some time to play. And through play, you might discover someone who could help you in business. Or taking some time off and processing what other people have said to you, and you may have some brilliant ideas. And so this is to look at the balance that you're doing, or even to the point, because you are Cancer, if you're doing all the giving, how can you then receive, if you're just constantly putting something out there? So maybe pause, allow that to balance again, and look for what you could receive. Now, when it comes to money from business or from your investments, the sun's making a trine to Uranus. You have some definite prospects for making more money in these areas over the next 2 weeks. You're one of the few who does. So that's why I wanted to say, go look for this money. With a trine, the trine energy can happen, but you have to do something to activate it. I've given this example lots of times where, your friend needs a wedding cake. With the trine energy, you call up the bakery and they say, you're our millionth customer, the cake is free, we'll deliver it for free. But if you hadn't called the bakery, you would not be the millionth customer. So that's what you need to do, is take one step in the direction that you want to go and let the universe then pick you up and carry you the rest of the way. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, Venus is making a semi-sextile to the sun, so there is an aspect, and you need an aspect to get the money, but it's a little bit irritating. It means there's extra steps that you need to take, and you need to deal with irritations as they come up. They'll come up one at a time. Maybe the supervisor says, I can't meet you today. Can I meet you tomorrow? And they keep bumping you in the schedule later and later. And so perhaps you just have to grab them in the hallway. Or maybe they say they're ready and you don't feel ready. So it's about tackling those little irritations as they come up and clearing the way for a good conversation. Okay, Leo, you're doing this new moon and this new energy in your house of daily routines. This is also where we find health and work and your relationships with coworkers. So, and of course, if you've watched any number of productivity videos, you know that it's the process. If you can get a good process, then you can achieve success. It is to get a good system for doing something setting the goals is important because you have to know where you're going. So, but it's kind of like if you knew your destination, like you're trying to go from Los Angeles to New York, that's the goal, right? Get to New York. But the system is how you drive the car. Are you riding the brake? Are you forgetting to buy the gas? Those sort of things can really stop your progress. So this new moon says plant the seeds for a better process. Also, of course, plant the seeds now for better health. And that is, exercise, eat your vegetables, etc. And better relationships with coworkers or better relationship with the job you're doing. It's so funny. I often find that people who are very frustrated about the job they're in, they're missing the spiritual lesson of the job. And so if you've ever wanted to know what the spiritual lessons are in your job, then, send me an email. We'll set up time to talk. I think it's just fascinating. I have found so many, people, everyone from, a person like who says all the energy in my life is clogged, and then he turns out to be a plumber, or, someone who says, I just have so much trouble letting go of the past, and they're a personal organizer, so if you want to talk about this, just let me know. Now, this energy here with the new moon is making a square to the north node and the south node. The south node is sitting in the house of collecting information. It is like, more. Reading every book, every, I was going to say magazine. So I guess there are still magazines. Listening to podcasts all the time, watching the next video and the next video and the next video. You're just collecting information. You're not really processing the information. Versus the north node, which is ready to teach something. And that is, if you really want to learn something, then be prepared to teach it. And so that's part of it. The north node also is about your personal philosophy, not the north node itself, but where your north node is sitting. And so that is this in alignment with my personal philosophy? And so oftentimes we hear of people who say, I'm going to start running, but they don't. But if they change that to, I am a runner, then of course runners run. So so if it becomes part of your identity, your personal philosophy, then it happens. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and now the sun is below the horizon. It's in a hidden house. It's going to be a little bit challenging for you to go out and look. Now, that said, Venus is in that house of romance, so it's possible that someone comes to you, or you have a date set up and all of that. So you go on the dates and you see what happens. But in this right now, it's better to focus on your personal philosophy and your routines and how you are, setting up a system to get what you want. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's an entirely different story. The sun is making a lovely trine to Uranus, and so the two of you could be doing something that's really new and fun and exciting, and that's bringing you closer together. When you're both a little fish out of water, then you can join hands and say, yeah, we're going to conquer this, whatever it is, rock climbing or putting down a kitchen floor or whatever. So, but it looks like you're having fun together. Now, when it comes to your money, you've got a very interesting thing going on. You're pulling energy, of course, from Mercury. But Mercury is sitting not just in your house of speculation and adventure and excitement, but it is sitting on the galactic center, and that means it's a source of all information. And so that is that if you do find something that you want to do to make money, you can find out all the information you need. Everything to, how to start it, to what the upside is, what's the downside, etc. So, whatever type of investments, somebody or some video or something's going to pop up to tell you how to do that. And I think that's great. That's a great combination to have. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury's making a square to Neptune. And that means you can go after it and you can make the a square means take action. Usually with a square, you can't do anything but take the action. And so it's necessary. The customer calls and places the order. You must fill it. Or you hear this great stock tip, you must follow up. It's just as you do, that's where the money is. Now, when it comes to money from a career, so like a paycheck, that Mercury is only really making a semi-sextile to Pluto in the house of work. So I'm going to caution you a little bit because Mercury is so late in the chart and only has one aspect left, and the aspect's not that good, and the aspect is in your house of work. I think if you ask for a raise right now, they're just going to say, yay, let's give you a whole bunch of work and see if you deserve this raise. So I'm going to caution you and say, just wait a couple of weeks till this energy lines up better, which it will in the future. Okay, Virgo, you're doing this new moon in your house of creativity, risk-taking, adventure, fun. It also represents your children, and so hence the creativity part, and romance. And so while you might be doing a lot of stuff with your kids, etc., this is mostly about taking a look at where your comfort zone is and stepping outside of it. And you might be stepping outside through creativity or taking a chance, trusting yourself, believing that you can do something, having an exciting goal, having an adventure to do. And that's what this new moon is for. It's just to plant the seeds. You don't have to run out and do the things now. Just start the process. Now, this new moon is making a square to the south node and a square to the north node. Now, the south node is the direction we don't want to go, and that's sitting in your house of money. And that is, try not to pay for this yourself. Try not to use your own money. Figure out a way to do it for no money, or figure out a way to, make a trade, or maybe if you're going to make something creative, maybe you have all the parts that you need. Maybe you don't have to go to the craft store and get more stuff when you already have a room full of stuff. Now, this is also squaring the north node, which is in your house of resources from others. And so this is where you say, I wonder who has the resources to help me do this creative thing, this fun thing. And so you think, okay, I want to take flying lessons. I know a guy who has a plane. Or I do want to make some jewelry and I know somebody who makes jewelry. Maybe I can sit in and see what it's like. So it's about teaming up with someone, and that way you receive the resources that you need to make this happen. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making an out-of-sign sextile to Saturn, plus you have 5 planets in the house. That is half the chart. So you have extremely good prospects right now for finding a love relationship. So if this is what you're interested in, put yourself out there, do as many dates over this 2-week period as you possibly can. Go to, new events and festivals and conventions and places where you can meet a lot of people. Go to a different coffee shop than usual, go to a different grocery store. Do whatever you can to put yourself around new people. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making a square to Neptune. That means that the two of you are either coming together and discussing something in maybe a very angry tone, or you are pairing up together to deal with something in the external world, which of course would be a much better thing to do. So look for the battles that the two of you need to do. Maybe you're, trying to buy a house, or you need to get your car fixed, or, get a better school for the kids, something that you can pair up and say, we're on the same page about this. Let's do it together. That's the best use for this energy. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is at the base of your chart, which is where we normally see family and ancestors. It's also real estate, and so maybe there's some real estate opportunities for you, in buying real estate, being an agent, or maybe investing in, REITs. So there might be some real estate connection here, but it's also about going to maybe family, a trusted family member, and say, what do you think? Well, what's my block to money? How can I make more money? And so mining that source of information could bring you some really valuable advice. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. So things are rolling along. I don't see you making less than usual, but it's harder to make more right now because the money that's out in the world isn't quite getting to you, which could just be that you're getting more sales, but there's a lag and they don't pay you for a couple of months or something like that. So now, the North Node is there, so that does mean look for opportunities as you are planting seeds, and so maybe those can grow into the harvest that you're looking for. But over the next 2 weeks, you're making about the same as usual. Then when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, the moon's making a semi-sextile to Venus. So there is a tiny opportunity here, but I think that it's going to lead more to getting a little bit more flexibility in your schedule, or maybe getting an extra day where you get to work at home. It's less about the cash and more about the perks. So if you're willing to make that adjustment, that's good. It's a semi-sextile. That means there are some small hurdles to get to just to get the conversation going. That your boss is traveling, or they're super busy, or it's just, beginning of the year and you're doing the inventory. Who knows? So you have to go over those little hurdles to get to the results. Honestly, I would wait a couple of weeks or a couple months because this energy is going to line up throughout the year multiple times to be much, much easier. Okay, Libra, you're doing this new moon energy right at the base of your chart. This is about home and family and feeling like you have a strong foundation. And so this is where to plant the seeds. And so planting the seeds about home and family could be just, calling up some family members and telling them you care about them, and so that you are strengthening those bonds. But it also could be something where you are planting the seeds about where you want to live in the future. Maybe you have a dream destination, a beach house or something like that you want. And so that is, how can you start planting those seeds? Maybe it's opening a special account and putting a few dollars in there to get it started, or, doing a vision board so that you have the pictures there so that focuses your attention. This is also about taking a look at your dwelling as it is now and planting some seeds to make it better while you're still here. And so that could be renovations or decluttering, or, just moving the furniture around so it has better feng shui flow. Those sort of things can help. Now, this is making the square to the south node and square to the north node. Now, the south node, with the direction we don't want to go, that is sitting in your own sign of Libra. And so that is this idea, not so much with the Libra, but that it's sitting there in your first house saying, I'm going to do it all myself, and which is so interesting because, Libra, which is the sign of partnerships. Remember, if it's your sun sign, you're learning how to do partnerships. If it's actually your rising, you're a little bit better at it. But if you're born Libra sun sign, or whatever sun sign you are, you're learning that energy. And so in this case, it says, don't try to do this yourself, or don't wait for a specific person to do this for you. And the North Node sits in the house of other people. And that is everybody, your friends, your partner, the people who could become friends, the business connections, all of that. So that is to create the home that you're looking for, or to get the home that you want. It's time to start asking other people, how'd you get your home? What's a good way for me to do this? Could you help me do this? And moving towards that direction. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making, not the moon, Venus is making an inconjunct Uranus. And that means that you could meet someone and they're very different than what you were expecting. And they're different than what your friends were expecting. And so it's one of those matches that could be very surprising. It's also possible that they get your attention because they slightly irritate you, because they're so different, or there's something that is different about their appearance. I don't know, maybe they dress in costume or something. So there is something that catches your eye. It's very different, and this could be a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Venus and Mars. It's interesting because, both of those are at the base of your chart. So it's like maybe you're living together but you're on different wavelengths right now. This energy is going to come together in the future, and so you can deal with things and issues and strengthen the relationship. But right now, it does look like you're in one side of the house and they're on the other side of the house, and not necessarily making connection. It doesn't show that it's bad. It just shows you're kind of doing your own thing together. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Pluto, of course, which is still in Capricorn, but not for very much longer. We'll be talking about Pluto a lot as it goes into a new sign, because it's so rare that it does that. Well, you're also pulling money from Mars, which is right at the base of your chart. And so this is talking about that your money is your foundation. And so that is like, oftentimes we're looking to make more money, but if money keeps going out at the rate that it is, it doesn't even help, because as we make more money, our lifestyle goes up, and then the same amount is going out, and we're still in the hole. And so this is about what's the foundation. And, all of the financial gurus out there are going to tell you to buy assets, buy things that are going to make you money. And so this might be a time where you're looking at maybe for the first time you're buying some sort of stock, mutual fund, or ETF, and you're just learning about it. Or maybe you haven't, done the market in a while, or maybe you want to do something that's different. There are private investing. There is, you can pull money with relatives and do real estate. There is starting your own business and then selling the business. So there's so many different ways to make money these days, and YouTube is filled with ideas. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you look like you're making more money than usual, but there's a catch, because Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. And that means that there's something that you don't really want to do. And if you do that, you make money. And so that could be that you have to check your website and maybe there's some errors going on, or you have to rebalance your portfolio, or you have to get your taxes filled out. And then money can come in. I don't know, it's a little early for doing taxes, but there's some sort of chore that you have to do, and when you do that, then you make the profit. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, the sun is not making an aspect to Pluto, nor is it making an aspect with Mars. So right now, I would recommend not broaching the subject. I don't think you're going to get the results that you want. And if you have some sort of work at home option or a hybrid and you want to keep that, I don't think you don't want to rock the boat right now. So this energy is going to line up in the future. And of course, keep watching the channel and I will let you know when that is. Okay, Scorpio, you're doing this new moon energy in the house of information, ideas, also activities, and the ways to do activities. So that's like dexterity, your ability to dance, your ability to sing, your ability to figure things out. And so with the new moon there, this is about planting some seeds to gather together like new skills or new activities that you enjoy doing, or finding a new hobby. It is about trying some new things so that you're branching out and exploring your world. Because, in this world of unlimited entertainment, sometimes we get very focused on the same thing. And then, of course, the algorithm just spits out the same thing for us over and over again. It's really, if you can branch out, you get to discover more about who you are, which is part of your soul's journey. And that helps you, meet new people, and that opens new doors, etc. Now, this is making a square to the south node and the north node. Now, the south node is the direction we don't want to go. And so the south node is in your house of, I'll just let the universe handle it. It is where you release, you surrender, you say, it's out of my hands, it's out of my control. And that would be like you're just walking down the road and, you'll see if you run into a new hobby, So in the square to the north node is the opposite side. And that is having a routine, having a structure, having a process. And so this might mean that you say to yourself, okay, for 1 month, I'm going to try, I know this is a 2-week video, so let's maybe do 3 days. So for the next 3 days, I'm really going to explore this new idea, or I'm going to write a short story, or I'm going to learn a song on the piano. It's about, trying something new but putting it into a process, putting it into a system. Maybe that is that you spend a day binge watching, but you binge watch tutorials on a particular subject. And oftentimes I find when I want to learn something new, if I chunk down to find that specific thing that I want to do, then, some generous, wonderful person out there did a tutorial on it. And so in 3 minutes, I have, this is how you do it. So that's the type of thing that this North Node can help you with during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Neptune's making a sextile to Pluto, and you have a lot of planets in your house of communication. So this is communicate. Put out your profile, tell your friends that you want to meet somebody, and also go to local places. This is very much about the neighborhood. And so go to the local coffee shop, the local happy hour, look at what community involvement you can do. Is there a community organization that's doing something to beautify things or celebrate something, etc. So this is where you could meet somebody new. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a semi-square to Pluto. That means that there is something the two of you need to work out, and when you do, things will get better. This is an irritating thing, and the irritation may just even be in the bringing it up. It is something, though, that if if you can deal with this irritation, then it doesn't lead to some bigger problem down the road. And looking at this chart, I would say it's something involving communication or semantics, how something is said, or what kind of emotion is behind what is said, or it's about phone use and how much someone's on the phone or what they're doing on the phone or things like that. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Jupiter, which is in your house of relationships, making a perfect trine to Mars in your house of communication. This is a great time to reach out to people, plant the seeds by sending a direct message, plant the seeds by, saying, let's have coffee and set up the coffee date, even if it's outside the 2-week period. But make the connection, ask for what you want. That's where the money is. Now, when it comes to money from business or money from investments, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter. And so right now, it looks like you're making about the same as usual. This is an idea time. This is a time for planting seeds. So the profits are going to come later, probably outside the 2-week period or even a month from now. Focus on the ideas because the harvest comes because we plant the seeds. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, when it comes to that seed planting, this is something you want to do in a literal sense because you have so much in your house of communication. So send the message to the supervisor and say, let's meet and talk about this, but set the meeting outside the 2-week period. This is what, I want to talk about all of these topics and put the raise in there, what's my career future or future promotion or making more money with the company, putting in something there along with the rest of the things that you're asking for. I think this could give you some good results. Okay, Sagittarius, you're doing this new moon in your house of money. And so this is about starting some new things in relation to how you care for your money, how you make money, the different resources that you have to get more revenue sources. And it's Capricorn, so this is about building something. And so to start with, of course, Capricorn, if it's going to build something, wants to know where all the supplies are and how much you have in bricks and mortar, etc. And so doing the analysis, kind of an inventory of where you're at financially is a place to start. But this is also looking at where different sources of money can come from, also how you are spending money, how money is leaving you. All of this is where the new moon is shining a light. Now, this is going to square the south node and the north node. And so the south node up in your house of community and basically the general public of what everybody does. And that's what not to do. If you say, well, other people don't really pay attention to their money, but that's not a reason to do that. Or this is in your area of automation. And so to completely automate something without watching it, without occasionally putting your hand on the steering wheel there is not good. So if you've turned everything over to somebody else, this may be something where you want to go through your statements or sit down with that person and have a discussion. Now, the north node, the direction you should be going, is in your house of risk-taking and speculation, also creativity. And now that doesn't mean that you should just run out and do the latest altcoin or something like that, but it does say to maybe step outside your comfort zone just a bit and see if you could take a very small percentage and do some sort of speculation or creative work with it. And that would mean that maybe you're creating a company, maybe you're creating an alternate source of income. So looking at different assets or building some assets, that's what this new moon is about. And of course, not all of that can happen in 2 weeks. This is just planting the seeds. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is making an exact trine to Jupiter. exact. That means that this is one of your best opportunities for meeting someone new. Now, the challenge is that every single planet is below the horizon. That means that unless you step outside your door, it's very difficult to be seen. So it's important that you get out into the world, go do things, and, look up and see what's out there in the world, talk to people, etc. So, but if you do that, or if you have a first date or something like that, then some magic can happen. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, and so I feel like everything's just moving along as it usually does. It's difficult right now to work out any issues. It is more important that you just try to find common ground, things you can do together, things that are fun, and that helps strengthen the relationship and save working on problems for another cycle. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn right at the base of your chart, which talks about the foundation of what you're doing. And a foundation is so important on which to build on. And so from a financial standpoint, a foundation might be your emergency fund or a line of credit or something that you can fall back on just in case. Now, with your money, we also have to take into account that you have 4 planets now in your house of money. That's a lot. That's 40% of your chart. That means that money is really highlighted for you. This is Mars, Moon, Sun, and Pluto. And so right now you have more financial opportunities, and so you do want to plant seeds. That means if you get an idea, if you don't have time to work on that idea, jot a note and put it up, on a post-it note on your wall so that you see it, so you remind yourself, or send yourself a future email that will drop into your inbox at some future date to say, hey, have you worked on this idea? Because right now, planting the seeds is what you want to do. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's making a semi-square to Saturn. That indicates that there is actual money you can make, more money than usual, but you have to do something that's not so fun. And that is that you might have to call up the customer and tell them they have to pay, or tweak your website, or, work on your sales pitch delivery. Perhaps you have to look at your investments and go through each one. Maybe you have to rebalance your portfolio or something. So it's may feel like busy work, but it actually is it's very, can't remember the word. It's very important. We'll use important for you for making the extra profits during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. And so Venus is in your, it's in your own sign of Sagittarius, about adventure and freedom and all of that. And so it's a little tough right now for you asking for a raise, because inside you might be thinking you want to start your own business, or you don't want to work for this company, or that you want more freedom. And so there's basically no energy between you and you getting the raise. And so just wait to ask outside this 2-week period. If you're already in the process of negotiating for a raise, just bump your meeting out so that it is after this 2-week period, and that's going to help. Okay, Capricorn, this is your new moon, and so this is the beginning of your 12-month lunar year. And so that means that you have a very strong seed planting time now. So besides it being the new moon, it's kind of like double new energy. And so the more new things you do, the bigger your harvest will be as the year goes on. And so you really want to focus on doing new things, meeting new people, going new places, because all of those plant seeds. And there's all kinds of different seeds that you can plant. You can plant like little lettuce seeds that are going to pop up and be microgreens in 5 days, or you can plant an avocado seed and years from now you're going to have avocados. So plant a variety of different kinds of seeds at this time. And so that might be looking into not just a new job, but a change of vocation. If you are looking for a relationship, also look for friendships and look for casual acquaintances, somebody who you could just go hiking with, but maybe they don't do the same video games you do, or something like that. Like, find someone who, can be a niche friend. This is also about you building on a basic foundation of your own confidence. And so you build confidence by recognizing your past successes. And this doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be huge successes. It's this interesting dynamic that if you are aware of your successes, then you have more success. It's just like one breeds the next one. But you don't have to have huge successes to have a success. And so, if you could say, like, I tried, I worked at it, I made an effort, that is success. That is success over somebody who didn't try. And so, the old adage of like, get in there, make your bed in the morning. Now you've had a success, and then you can build on that. So the square to the south node and the north node then are these two directions that you can go. The south node, the direction you don't want to go, is to compare yourself to the masses out there and say, wow, well, that person has more followers or more money or a better car, and so therefore I'm doing worse. And, the interesting thing on that comparison is, we only take the very, very small slice of life, because most of us in the United States, we could compare ourselves to the majority of people in the world, and we're doing amazing. So, but comparing yourself to others is not necessarily going to get you anywhere, because that's the south node. The square to the north node is down in your house of family and foundations and the strength that you get from the family line. And so that is that, you have not just your own abilities, talents, energies, but your whole genetic line, that whole connection to past generations, everything that they did. You could then say to your ancestors, hey, I want that ability. Can you send that along the line? And so this is about thinking maybe, like all the things that your parents can do, all the things that your siblings can do, your cousins can do, but even generations that have gone way before you, you have access to that energy. And so that's what to bring in. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. And Venus is in your hidden house. And so there's a little bit of maybe you're not certain of who you want to attract into your life. It's also quite possible that you're still holding on to someone from the past, still hoping that they come back around. And so there may be, like, you still feel a little tied to that past situation. And so right now, it's better just to focus on planting seeds. You can plant seeds for friendships, and one of those friendships could morph into a love relationship in the future. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a semi-square to Saturn. That means that the two of you are coming together, trying to work out a problem. And it's hard. It's especially, it's kind of like when you drag something across a floor and it makes that squeaky sound. It feels like that. And so the solution is to, of course, pick the item up, both of you, and carry the item, and then it doesn't make the horrible squeaky sound. But if one of you is trying to drag it, it sounds terrible. And so this is, find a common thing that you're going to work on. Don't work against each other, but work on something together, and then you strengthen the relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Saturn in your house of ideas, as well as that Uranus, which is making almost a perfect trine to this new moon, which means that the amount of wild and crazy ideas you're going to get to make money is going to be huge. Like, there's going to be idea after idea that the universe is throwing at you. Like, here's a video on 100 different businesses you could start in 2024 and stuff like that. So you want to start writing these down, want to make a note of them, because you won't be able to take action on all of them over the 2-week period. But you're still going to be in the seed planting time for a while. So you might as well grab hold of any idea that you can then later explore or try out, or, contact someone and say, do you want to do this together? Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, it looks like you're making more money than usual because the sun's making a perfect trine to that Uranus. And that means that there's kind of a surprise, like money just pops in. And so that could be more customers, or one of your stocks shoots up, or you make some other good investment that really does well. You just want to keep an eye on it, because if something is right there and saying, I'm ready to buy, or a security, pops up in price, you want to make sure that you're present and can take the profits. So that's the only thing. It looks like it's happening quickly, and so you want to be aware. Now, when it comes to money derived from careers, so that's paycheck, you've got two aspects. I have to check them. So one is Mars is making a sesquiquadrate to Uranus, and the other is Saturn's making a semi-sextile to Pluto. Both of those are slightly irritating aspects. Well, the sesquiquadrate's a little bit more than slightly. And so they're both rather difficult. Now, these will line up better over the course of the year, but it will take a while. So if you're already in negotiations for more money, you may want to just try and push through it. You might find that, there's a lot of back and forth, or it's just hard to get the meeting. But once you get through those hurdles, you could get some success. Otherwise, if you haven't even started the negotiations, just wait. This will line up better in the future. We just have to wait for Mars to move, and then things will be better. Okay, Aquarius, you're doing this new moon in your house of spirituality, psychic ability, as well as the completion of things. This is the last month of your 12-month cycle. So this is kind of the beginning time of the analysis of the last 12 months. And so that's where you might, start the process of both saying, what did I accomplish? How did it go? Who did I meet? And go through all of the things that you've done over the last 12 months, but also to disassemble anything that's not working. And so if you think of this in the terms of a building, this would be, okay, I don't need that outbuilding, but I'm going to save the lumber. I'm going to save the nails, or I'm going to at least recycle some of the parts of this for a future project. So you are both thinking of endings and beginnings with this new moon. Now, it's making the square to the south node and that square to the north node. The south node is where we don't want to go. And for you, that is in very fixed ideas of, something has to be this way. It's where you would be stuck in dogma, where you would say, I've never done this before, so I can't do it in the future, or that other people don't do it this way, so I can't break the rule. Versus going the north node direction, which is a collection of all kinds of ideas, that you may end up with that pile of lumber and the pile of nails, and then go out into the internet and say, what could I do with these? And come up with 1,000 different ideas, not just building another house, but maybe building a boat or an airplane, or, making art out of it. So this is about collecting together different suggestions from people of what you could do and how you could take what you've started over the last year, finishing up that, and take it into the new cycle that you're going to start next month. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's not making an aspect with Uranus. You've got a lot of stuff in your house of introspection, not so much out into the world. And so even if you're looking for love, you're not that visible. And if someone's looking for you, you're not that visible. And so you may want to just pull back and kind of think about this as something you might reboot in a month from now. So if you are, if you're very focused on love relationships, then do it from a spiritual standpoint. Do the feng shui to bring in love, by making sure your entryway is nice and redoing your bedroom, or do meditations and visualizations, not of what the relationship's going to be like, but how you're going to meet that person. Come down to and say to the universe, these are different ways I could meet the person. Now, when it comes to your existing love relationships, it's an entirely different story. The sun's making an exact trine to Uranus. This is very happy energy. Uranus is at the base of your chart in your area of home and family. So the two of you are in sync right now. Things can really, you can mesh. This also does mean, though, that if sometimes you get into the same old argument, it's really easy to slip into that old argument. But you can pivot. You can say, I'm not going to do that old argument again. I'm not going to say the same things I've said before. So you can change it up more easily and get out of a negative situation. So this is very good energy over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Neptune, which is still in your house of money, as well as that Jupiter, which is making an exact trine to Mars. Now, Mars is in that house of working behind the scenes. So this is work on something behind the scenes. Close your office door and really get down to the actual work of whatever it is, starting the business or getting the investments going or something like that. And oftentimes, this means just breaking it down into its smallest steps. I mean, once you do that, that's like half the battle, because sometimes starting a business or even looking for another revenue source is just such a big nebulous thing. But if you can break it down into individual steps, then you could ask those questions on the internet or to ChatGPT. And of course, ChatGPT will give you 50 answers for it. So there is opportunities here for you to make more money, but it comes through, closing the door and working on it. Now, when it comes to money from business or from your investments, Mercury's making a square to Neptune, and that means you are taking a very focused action, and that is making you more money. You have big opportunities to make more profits this time, but it's because you are so interested and you're so engaged. Or somebody out there is saying, hey, you got to help me. I'm trying to buy whatever it is you're selling and it's not working. And then, of course, then you have to take action, but you get the money. So you are quite likely to make more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Jupiter's making a semi-square to Neptune. So while this is not the easiest of aspects, it is an aspect, and that's what you need to get a raise going. So the problem is that you've got a lot of hidden energy right now. That is that your boss might not know what you've been doing, or they may not even know you that well. Maybe you've been working remotely. They may work remotely. So you want to go into this negotiation really armed with what you're bringing to the table. Like what are your accomplishments, how you've helped the company, and what you can do in the future. So, but if you do that, then that's the hard work that we're seeing in this aspect, and also nailing down your supervisor for the discussion itself. But then you could have a good outcome. Okay, Pisces, you are doing this new moon in your house of community and connections and friendships, as well as technology and the future. And so where you're planting these seeds is in these areas. And so that might mean that you are joining a new group, finding like-minded people, expanding your circle of friends. All of these things are very, very helpful. It's a really interesting energy because there is, with Capricorn, it's very traditional and 11th house is very new, but you always combine those two energies, trying to find the best of both worlds. And so it's kind of like you're the bridge between those two. And so, looking at who is a kind of like-minded, who's part of your group, and maybe you're using technology to do it. Maybe you are getting involved in technology, but doing it in a way that you don't have to do all of it, but you can take the piece that you need. And so that's the kind of new energy of something that you're trying to build, which of course is the network of people that you can count on, that are your real friends. And then this is being squared by the South Node as well as the North Node. Now the South Node is in your house of resources from others. And so that is to not go that direction, not look at what people can give you, not look at what you are getting as opposed to the North Node. That would be, all right, what kind of effort are you making to give them something, to provide value? And to focus on doing it yourself versus waiting for somebody else to give you permission or to give you the go-ahead or to give you the funds necessary to make something happen. So this is very much focused on you saying, all right, I want to build a group, so I'm going to start the group and I'm going to show up, and maybe people show up and maybe they don't, but I will build the group, versus so much of going to somebody else's group and saying, what can this group give me? So that's the challenge that you're under over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a sextile to Neptune, and that's very nice. That's an opportunity to meet someone. Now, it is just an opportunity. So a sextile, which I've said on this channel many times, it's like when your friend needs a wedding cake, you call up the bakery, they say they can make the cake, you go, you pay for the cake, you take the cake, everything's perfect. But you had to do all of those steps. It ends up perfect, but you have to do the things. And so that means that, you have to post online and say you're looking for a relationship, or you have to go to the singles group, or you have to ask someone out. Those sort of things are the steps that you take. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's making a square to Neptune. Generally, a square means that there's some sort of action happening, some aggressive, well, it doesn't have to be aggressive, but it has to be active energy. And so either the two of you are actively doing something together, and maybe that thing is really fun, or you're doing a challenge and you're side by side, shoulder to shoulder, working on this, or you're going after each other. And so which would be better, of course, is to have a united front and focused on an external goal. And so since you have this new moon in your house of the future, this is a really good time to align your goals together, to, sit down and say, where do we want to be a year from now? And to focus on that as a team, because otherwise it does feel like, the two of you could, kind of go after each other. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mars, which is in your house of money derived from career. So that's very strong. We'll talk about that in a second. But also it's making an exact trine to Jupiter in your house of ideas. And so you're going to have a ton of ideas, and probably many, many more than you can even start to look into over a 2-week period. So this is also in your house of the future. So you may want to do something to remind yourself of these ideas in the future, so that over the course of the year, you can start to explore them. So every idea you have, write it down and put a list on your bedroom wall or something so you can see it. Or that's not very good feng shui. You know what I mean? So that it's visible, or send one of those future emails to yourself, schedule the email to send to you in a month or 3 months or 6 months, and to remind you of this great idea, because you're going to have a ton of ideas. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mars is not making an aspect with Venus. Hold on, I have to check. Oh, that's true. And that means that you're making about the same as usual. You have a pretty strong money chart. You've got 4 planets in a money house. That's fantastic. So, but this looks like that probably most of that money is either coming outside the 2 weeks, like you get the order, but they're not going to pay you yet, or that, you're working and you're planting seeds, and so it's going to grow over time. So you're making about the same as usual. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, drum roll please, you're doing some fantastic energy. This is that energy of like a paycheck. And so if you want a raise, if you want to get a promotion, if you want extra perks, now is the time. Mars is making a sextile to Saturn. So we already discussed sextile means you have to take some sort of action. But in that house, you have Mars, Moon, Sun, and Pluto. So 4 planets, 40% of your chart is there. You also have Venus and Mercury elevated in your chart. So it's quite easy for you right now to get that meeting with the boss, find out if you can get a raise. If you can't, that's a definite sign to move on to something else. You could get another job and negotiate for a higher salary. You might even get a signing bonus or something like that. Like the prospects right now are really good. And I know you only have a 2-week period, but if you can take really focused action, you could have more money from your career. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my video course, Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. There's a link in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.